Hello, I'm Stephanie Anderson, enrolled agent and certified tax coach. And I would like to talk about the difference between tax preparation and tax planning. This is something that I didn't even know the difference of when I passed my exams to get my license. They are two entirely different types of engagements in tax work, and you actually don't even have to learn tax planning in order to become a tax professional. So what happens is you want to get your taxes done, and after the year has passed, the calendar year has closed, you bring all your documents to a tax professional. And that tax professional reviews your documents, puts them in their tax software program, which is definitely a skill, by the way. It's not just data entry. There are things you need to know to do that correctly. And then you file the tax return and you pay any tax that's due or get a refund. And then you go start your next calendar year. Perhaps during the year, you may hear some videos or something on Facebook and be like, oh, if you form an S corporation, you're going to save tax, or a little sliver of information, and think, call your tax professional and say, oh, should I be an S corp? Or a common question is, should I lease a vehicle or buy a vehicle? What kind of vehicles should I get? All those little types of quick questions that you may email, call, or text your tax professional and want an instantaneous answer. And that's how most tax work is done and what's been going on. So here's the thing. There are a certain number of tax professionals in the United States that have taken a serious amount of time and money to learn high-level tax planning. It's not common knowledge. It's not required knowledge. So I really wanted to emphasize that. When somebody calls and says, should I be an S Corp, or what kind of vehicle should I get, or something like that, I now take pause, excuse me, and I say, that's great, we can answer this one question, and I can see you next year when you file your taxes. However, there are actually 400 credits, deductions, and loopholes in the tax code. Why can't I take a holistic approach of all of your spending, business and personal, and see what strategies we're actually missing out on? And when we find the top 5 biggest strategies that we're missing out on, you lay that foundation with the top 5, and then those top 5 flow into some extra, other deductions, because everything works together. You have to look at it from a holistic picture. You have to figure out how all of these things work together. And when I do a tax planning engagement, I will spend 20 to 30 hours on that tax planning engagement. I have multiple software programs that I use to look at the whole thing. So you can see it's quite different than tax preparation. And it's a significant investment on my part as well as the client's part in order to do that. However, most of the time, the client is in the black as a result of this work. I will look for value and be able to strategically figure out how much tax they're going to pay, and it will be significantly less than what they're paying without any strategic tax planning. If there isn't, I tell them that and I say it's not worth this work and you're good the way you are. So the client expectation is in March, April, when you're trying to handle hundreds of people coming at you at once, like a tsunami, with historical data, old data, calendar year is closed, bank statements are printed, W-2s are printed, and now they want some type of strategic tax planning. Well, oftentimes it is too late. We need to plan before those transactions occur, before they hit your bank statement. You have to strategically plan for this. So I wanted to also show you a little bit about what a real tax plan looks like. So when a client of mine gets a tax plan, they get an 1.5 to 2 hour PowerPoint presentation with me. That's what that TV is for on the wall. Before COVID, you come in the office and we go over it on the television, and I would explain everything, every single strategy to the taxpayer. Now I can just share my screen and do it remotely. So they would get that. They would also get a binder. And in this binder is a very specific numbers before the tax plan, after the tax plan. So if you did no tax planning, that's how much you would pay. With strategic tax planning, it jumps down here. So you're literally able to show value with numbers. And then you get a letter, a specific letter to you. And inside this letter, it tells you how to use your tax plan. And then the very last page is very specific items specific to that taxpayer. I mean, I have to spend a lot of time to create this accurately. And then inside the binder is a sheet on every single strategy, right? And at the bottom of the sheet, it shows where in recent tax court cases, revenue rulings, procedures, form instructions, where this data was come from, so you know that it's legit and legal. Of course, we don't do anything illegal. So every strategy that we have is in here. And people, oh my gosh, constantly, 7 days a week, in my business life, in my personal life, on my cell phone, on Facebook, on Instagram, on email, every possible way of communicating, constantly asking me for tax advice. And thank you. I appreciate the compliment. Here's the thing about tax advice and tax professionals. According to Circular 230, you cannot rely on tax advice from a professional unless you are in an engagement, a proper engagement. So if you want to rely on tax advice from a tax professional, you want to be in a real tax planning engagement with everything documented of why you took a position that you did. This is really important. So every client expects from their tax professional tax planning. However, they don't know what tax planning is. In my experience, they do not know what tax planning is. There's a huge difference between recording historical data, using source documents that are printed, W-2s, 1099s. Have you ever tried to correct a W-2 or 1099 after the fact? We have to start before the transactions hit the paper and become financial records. And that's fine. You know, blockchain technology is just a couple years out. All of our finances and every single transaction is going to be transparent. So it's going to be all about planning how you spend your money. And because these engagements take so long, I can only do a few of them a year. There's no way for me to do this service for every single client. And I've just been dying to say all of that. And I wanted to get it out so bad. It's like, look, I have been spending a ton of my time and my money and my efforts and my energy and my thoughts to learn real tax planning. It's a topic that's super exciting to me. I mean, when I was studying accounting in college, I thought, oh, I want to be an accountant and do journal entries and make P&Ls and balance sheets. And that is very pleasurable for sure, especially for somebody with certain types of brains that love categorizing and balancing and math. Love it. I do. I absolutely love it. But what I learned in college from doing all those case studies and doing all of the, you know, learning financials, is that a lot of money from every single business and every single person is spent on tax. And there's a lot of people that don't like studying tax. So I wanted to gear towards more tax and figure out, how does this work? How does Warren Buffett do it? How does Warren Buffett pay 15% tax? He's a multimillionaire. The thing is, there's a section of the tax code that tells you the tax you have to pay. And then there's a larger section that actually gives you directions on how to not pay tax. So I have chosen just to focus on that part. Because the more money that a business can retain or an individual can retain, the better, the financial health. The tax, having your tax in compliance and paying the legal amount, the right amount of tax that you're legally required to pay, I believe is the key to any financial success. Without any tax planning, you pay way more tax than you need to. So why not do it right? Why not do it correctly, legally compliant, correctly? The problem for me as a tax planner is communicating this to my clients and getting them to engage with me on a real tax planning engagement, because there is just a lot of confusion about the difference between tax preparation and tax planning. So if somebody comes to me to do a 1040 once a year, which is $375 minimum, they bring me their historical data and I put it in the tax software program and I make sure that it's in there correctly and things are calculated correctly so that the return is not audited and things like that, which is important work. However, with hundreds of people paying me $375 within a very short time period at the beginning of the year, there is no way that I can do tax planning for them. Tax planning has to happen before the transactions occur, and I have to have that 20 to 30 hours per client to do the right job, to do the correct job. So that's what it is. If you are interested in this type of engagement with me, you can see if you qualify for that kind of engagement at no cost. It's called a tax discovery session. And all it means is that I have current financial data and last year's tax return, preferably the last 3 years, but last year's tax returns and current financial data, where you're at. And I spend 2 to 3 hours looking at that and seeing if there is opportunity, if there are missed strategies. And then I let you know. All of that costs the client no money. I have to do an investigation to figure out if it is worth it for either one of us. So if I find out that there is opportunity, then we will have a tax planning engagement. And the tax planning engagement is very intimate, and it's my favorite work to do, and I love to do it. But I give you a questionnaire, and it's a very intimate questionnaire about your life, how you're spending your money, are there people that you're taking care of, what are your top 5 financial goals? Do you want to be out of debt? Do you want to purchase a home? Do you want to start a second business? All of those things going on that never come up any other time. It's like, let's really take a look at everything and see where you want to be. So once I get all that data from the client, then I go dig into my tax planning process. And once I've had that 20 to 30 hours, I will come back to you and invite you back, well, not to the office anymore, but we'll have our PowerPoint presentation where I will explain your tax plan to you, and you can answer any questions that you want. And then you get your documentation in the mail or through ShareFile, whatever you like. And when we do your taxes next year, you'll be able to see the difference. I have not had a client that's been in the red as a result of this. It's always been worth it to them, and there's always been value. So I'm pretty excited about it. I would love to have a few more. I'm working on 2 right now. Actually, I have 3. I'm delivering 3 this month. But December is definitely what do you call it, the paramount time, you know, because the calendar year is going to end. Those W-2s, 1099s, bank statements, all those final things are coming. So if you're interested in being one of 2 to 3 clients that I can handle in the month of December, you know, let me know. I would love to work with you on this. I have learned so much in my journey to become a tax planner, and I get so excited when somebody wants to hear about it or learn about it or wants me to work on their situation. I think it's wonderful. I finally found the place where I want to spend all of my energy. I think it's great, you know, the more money that you could keep in your pocket and possibly invest or just have in the bank, whatever you prefer, is going to replenish you. When we have those things, it changes how we feel about ourselves and our relation to the world, like on a deep level. So I have another part of my business that's resolution, which are people that have tax debts and working out those tax debts. And when those clients move from having an abundance of IRS letters with large balances due to the other side of that, where that is now over, they are different. It's like they're replenished. It's like they have this burden that's been pulling them back like every moment. They think about it when they're trying to go to sleep or when they wake up. They worry about it. So you have to have your taxes in compliance. You do. Or it's gonna hold you back and everything. So what I can do for my clients is I can keep them in compliance and I can also move them forward. And there's nothing more exciting to me as far as finances go, you know, just having your house in order financially is the foundation. So thank you for listening to my video, and I just really needed to say all of that. I hope you have a good day and schedule a tax discovery session with me.